Hi guys, and welcome back to another video. This is the third time I'm filming this exact video because the first time I actually had to go to a dinner, so I was like trying to film it and I just didn't have time and I didn't want to rush it. And then the next time I filmed, it all ended up being blurry, so I literally just had to reset all my camera settings for video. So let's just hope that third time is a charm. So today I'm going to be talking about reading slumps, what they are, how to get out of them, what causes them, etc. Okay, the good thing about this, about having to refilm, is because I did think of some other reasons that could cause a reading slump, which I'm trying to remember them right now, and I wish I would have added them into the last video, but I'm sure it'll come to me as I'm recording. So, reading slumps, a reader's worst nightmare. So that's basically what they are. A reading slump is when you are not in the mood to read. Reading is not fun, exciting, relaxing. It's just not something you want to do. Like, for me, it's the feeling of I'd rather sit on my phone or do anything else other than read. I had originally planned to do an April wrap-up for my next video, and I didn't really read as much as I wanted to because I was in a reading slump. So yeah, it's caused by multiple reasons. So one reason could be it's caused by book hangover. So a book hangover is when you read a really good book that nothing feels like it can compare, that it's like hard to pick another book out or start a new book, and if you do and it doesn't compare and it's not as good, it's really hard to continue that book because the other book was like a 5-star book. It was so good. Like, how do you bounce back from that? Nothing ever really feels as good or comparable. So that's one way to get to a reading slump. I was in a reading slump because of the book I was reading. So I was reading a book that I found boring. I had no desire to pick it up. Wasn't a page turner. It was taking me 4 weeks, and I got maybe like 43% through. 4 weeks. Like, this book was just like, it was like watching paint dry. Like, it was just taking forever. I'm like, this is painful. That being said, you might be like, Paige, just DNF the book. And it's just like, I would, but I have a toxic trait where I'm not able to DNF because once I finish something or start something, I feel the need to finish it. All right, I knew that was gonna happen, and that's why I got you a stool. Louis, of course, has to join the video. So that's why I was in a reading slump. I'm trying to think, there was another reason where I'm like, this could cause a reading slump. Like, being busy. I think that's what it was. Like, just honestly being busy. Is that a reading slump? Like, kind of. Like, you're just too busy to read. Like, for me, this happens during like peak times, like certain parts of summer where, like, for example, here in the city, Stampede's on. Like, I'm not reading during that week. I'm at Stampede. So that puts me in a reading slump because, like, I'm just kind of out of the loop with reading. Or like during report card season at work, like, I'm having a hard time like balancing that and reading, which is my goal to do better, but that can put me into a reading slump, and then I'm out of my habit of reading. And to me, like, some people I know, just by talking to people, like, people feel bad about it, and like, reading slumps are natural though. Like, it makes you feel bad. Sometimes it makes people feel bad because they're behind on their goal, and like, yeah, it sucks, but also sometimes it's just like, it's part of my mental health to read. Like, it's part of my routine. Like, I don't want to be sitting and scrolling on my phone. It doesn't make me feel good. Reading is like relaxation to me. It is my like personal me time, and if I don't get it, I just feel out of sorts. So I am just in a weird place when I'm in a reading slump, and I'm just like, I'm definitely not myself during those times. So that's for me where it becomes an issue. But so yeah, I've kind of been on and off in reading slumps these past 4 months, so it hasn't been a great start to the year of reading. But you know what? I feel like there's always a period in the year where it's like the lowest of reading times. Like, how to get out of a reading slump? The $1,000,000 question. There's so many strategies to get out of a reading slump, and what I had to do personally was put down the book, put it aside. I'm not going to DNF it. I'm going to pick it up back up and finish it, but I needed something because like I would still be reading that book, and it's been like 6 weeks since I started it at this point. I'd still be reading it, so I had to just put it down, and I had to pick up a book that would pull me out of it, and I did, and it worked. I put that book aside. I took a recommendation from my sister and my cousin, who convinced me to read The Perfect Child by Lucinda Berry, a thriller. For me, it's a thriller. Give me a thriller, a good thriller, and that will pull me out of my slump, and it worked. And it will probably continue to work if it's a good thriller. Like, so don't just pick up a random thriller. Like, get someone to be like, no, this is a book that'll get you out of a slump. This is a page turner. This is short chapters. Those are all attributes of like a good book that'll to get you out of a reading slump. And if thrillers aren't your thing, honestly, books with short chapters, those help when you can just fly through a book. Like short chapters, there's nothing like short chapters. They are just amazing. So that's what worked for me. Like other people, like if you need to take that break from reading to love it again, like let the slump play out. Sometimes that's all you have to do is just let it play out, and then find a time after when you're like, okay, whether you feel like it or not, but you know you're ready, sit down, open up that book, and give yourself like an hour or two at least to get in a good chunk of the book. You need to be hooked. You need a book that will hook you, even if thrillers aren't your thing. It doesn't necessarily need to be that kind of suspense. You need something to hook you and capture your interest and make you want to not put the book down. Like that's key. So yeah, reading slumps aren't fun. Like talk to your friends, go onto Booktok, go get recommendations from people's YouTubes. Like find a book that you know that will get you out of a slump from recommendations. Like there are thrillers out there that would not get me out of a slump but would just make my slump continue. So I knew like when they were recommending that one, saying I would love it, I'm like, okay, well I'm gonna read it, and it helped. So just do what you gotta do. They're normal. Don't beat yourself up. I know it sucks. It's so easy, much easier said than done, because like I literally am spiraling a little bit on the inside when I'm in a reading slump. So I get it. So what I was gonna do was a April recap. But since I didn't really read, I'm going to do a quarterly year wrap up. Because you know what, why not? It's been 4 months into the year. Let's talk about what I've read so far. So let's start back in January. I think I started the year off very strong because when January started, I was spending Christmas break in Hawaii with my family. So literally my days consisted of sitting at the beach reading. And so I was crushing it in December. So I started the year off with the book Credence by Penelope Douglas. You either love it or you are freaked out by it and hate it. I loved it. I went in thinking it was a thriller because what did I read right before it? I read Maybe Someday right before it. That was my last read of December by Pauline Hoover, and I literally made me want to rip my hair out and my eyelashes and my fingernails. It was so painful. So I needed a book that would hook me. Even though I was sitting and had nothing but time to read, I'm like, I need a good book after that. That was just horrific. So I picked up Credence because the cover kind of looks like a thriller. I didn't even read the back, but I've seen people rate it on Goodreads, so I went in completely blind, which is a scary thought when you're thinking about Credence, because if you know, you know. This book is like a love square between a cousin and a girl and her two step cousins and her step uncle, which is just super messed up. Like I've read reviews where people are like, if you like this book, you need therapy. If you like, this book is a major red flag. Like what the heck? Like it's just crazy. But I really liked it. So it's like you either hate it or you love it. I don't know if there's an in-between spectrum on it. I rated it 4 stars, so it was a great start. The next book I read was an Alice Feeney book because I love Alice Feeney. It's her new book, was her new book, Daisy Darker. I hated it. I hated it. I rated it 2 stars. And it just was completely disappointing. Like it felt childish to me. The characters kind of had that like childlike tone to them where I'm like, it's almost like sitcom, like where they're just not, they're kind of dumb. Like, is that the right word? I've been struggling to find the right word to describe that book, but it's kind of how the characters acted in anxious people, which I also hated. So the next book I have tracked is The Wild Robot. I read that novel with my students. It was actually really good to read to grade 3s. My kids loved it. Anyway, the next book I read, so my 4th book of the year was Things We Never Got Over by Lucy Score. Louie, I'm scared you're gonna knock the TV down. Okay, freaking me out. Okay, Things We Never Got Over. It gave Major Colleen Hoover, but and I liked it. It was easy to read. I liked the characters. I really liked the storyline, and then the ending ruined everything for me about this book. I hated the ending, you guys. Again, it was like one of those things where it's just like, what? Like, I can't say it without spoiling it, but the ending just ruined it. Okay, and so then my 5th book was How to Fall Out of Love Madly. I listened to this as audiobook. It was fine. I gave it 3 stars. Oh, and then with Things We Never Got Over, that would have been a 4-star book minimum, but the ending, I gave it a 3. I actually want to just read my review about what I said about the ending, because I'm like reading off my Goodreads here. It felt so YA to me. Okay, I said I'm not going to put this softly. The ending was awful. It felt so YA, so YA to me. I think I'm just over the unrealistic books. Okay, I can't, because then it kind of gives spoilers. Next was Forever Interrupted by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I listened to it as an audiobook, 4.5 stars. It was amazing. I loved the whole plot line. I loved the characters. I loved it so much in this book. Obviously, I loved Daisy Jones and the Six. Malibu Rising was good. I didn't love Evelyn Hugo, but like this book just like revamped my love for Taylor Jenkins Reid. Like, love. Oh, and One True Loves was super good too. Then the next book I read, like, I think it's like, is it me or is it the books I'm reading? I think that's why I'm having a bad, like, it's the books I'm reading. It's not me. It's the books that I'm reading this year that are making me go into all these slumps. Because the next book I read was Watch Out for Her by Samantha M. Bailey, and it was a 1-star book. I DNF'd it for 3 days. I went against what I believed in. I DNF'd it. I'm like, I can't deal with this book. It's so awful. And it's supposed to be a thriller, but like there was, I didn't want to keep turning the pages. I wasn't thrilled. This book was awful. Honestly, like, someone else read it so I should read some more reviews on it. I'm actually curious. The next book I read was They Never Learn by Lane Fargo. This book is about a professor at the university she works at where she kills men. The next book I read was Open Water. This book was short, kind of written in a poetry style. 3.5 stars. The literature was just a little bit above my level, but that'll come. The next book I listened to is an audiobook, Sweet Bitter, 3.5 stars as well. It was good. It was good. It was fine. But looking at it, it took me a month to listen to. Next, Maybe in Another Life by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Oh yes, I love this. No, this was the one with the plot I loved. This was 5 stars. I absolutely loved this book. Next, I tracked The Wild Robot Escapes, which is the second book to the one I read with my students. So I tracked The Wild Robot Escapes, also a good book for my grade 3 students. The next book I read, we're into February now. Actually, yeah, this was February, but I finished it. It took me almost a month, which this is maybe shocking to some people, but it was Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. It just wasn't for me, and I know it's for a lot of people. I know it was like the best book of the year or whatever last year, but my goodness, my book club and I were like, it was very meh. The next book I read, because I had to read a book to get me out of a slump, because that book had me in a slump. I read the sequel to The Kind Worth Killing by Peter Swanson, which was The Kind Worth Saving, 4 stars. It was really good. You might start it and be like, this has nothing to do with the first book, because I felt that way, and I was getting frustrated, but no, everything ties together. Just give it a second. Next was Birthday Girl by Penelope Douglas because I love Credence. Sorry, I feel like it's Credence and I keep calling it Credence. So I read Birthday Girl, and it was just like a forbidden age gap love story. 3 stars. It took me a while to read. I didn't love it. It took me like 8 days, but then my next book club book was The Housemaid, which we're actually meeting to discuss tonight, which I'm super excited for. I'll talk about my book club after, because yeah, that's tonight. I'm super excited. I'm gonna go make guacamole after this. The Housemaid was so good. Let's see, I read it in 3 days, but I also had a friend visiting, so I like couldn't just sit down and devour it. Short chapters. I'd never wanted to put it down. It was shocking. It was kind of similar to some books. I don't want to say because I don't know if it's a spoiler, but it's similar to some books that you're going to be like, okay, that's very familiar, but I didn't mind because I loved those other 2 books that I found it very familiar to. Then, of course, I jumped right into the sequel and I read The Housemaid's Secret after. So The Housemaid was 5 stars, The Housemaid's Secret, 4 stars. It was still really good. I listened to Beach Read. It took me a month and a half by Emily Henry, so it was like okay. It was definitely not my favorite, but people said to like that's not her best one, so I will probably, I want to read Book Lovers. And then this book I just finished, the one that got me out of the slump, The Perfect Child, by Lucinda Berry. And that book was like major creepy child book, like major creepy child vibes. So if you like The First Day of Spring, if you like The Push, I didn't finish Baby Teeth, so I did DNF that one because I was audiobooks. I'm better at DNFing. Baby Teeth, if you ever read that one, it gives all those creepy child vibes, but I loved it. Short chapters, but major trigger warnings. So please look those up before you decide to read this book, because, and I made a whole video about it, and I also posted about it on my Goodreads. I posted a video on TikTok of the trigger warnings and on my Instagram, so they are there if you want to look before reading. But I loved it. 5 stars. And then my class and I finished The One and Only Ivan a few days ago, and 4 stars. That's like a really good children's book, but I think it's a little bit above the grade 3 level, at least grade like 5 or 6. So the book that had put me in the slump, and I'm still reading it right now. So what my kind of plan was, like, read another book, because I'm reading the book on my Kindle, so read 10% of it, start another book, then go back and read 10%, and just keep going until that one's done, because I am not getting stuck in that loop of that book again. So it's called Really Good, actually, by Monica Heisey, and it's just drawn out. It's just a complaining coming of age book. She just complains the whole time about her divorce, and I'm just like, I've gone through a breakup or 2, and I just don't need to relive this through someone else's perspective right now, especially when I'm happy and this is just kind of bringing me down. It's killing the vibe. So it's fine. It's just very like nothing's happening in it. It's just a lot of complaining. Currently, I'm hopping on the Frida McFadden train again because I love The Housemaid and she's kind of all the hype right now. So I'm reading Never Lie right now by Frida McFadden. I've been really tired because just this week has been exhausting. So I haven't really read it. I think I'm at like 8% into it right now. So that's what I'm reading right now, and I'm planning to just like devour her books. I'm just going on a thriller train for a while, depending on what my book club picks too though tonight. So yeah, I am on book 21 out of 60 for the year. My goal is 60. And yeah, so hopefully the upcoming months are better reading months and no more slumps this year. Like I feel like I went through it in end of January, February, March. Honestly, this month, I feel like I've been in my 4-month reading slump where I've had spurts of almost thinking I'm getting out of it, but I hope it's done now. I don't feel the need to be in a reading slump any longer. So that's why I'm gonna hop on the thriller train. So yeah, I have book club tonight. I hosted it last time. My friends are hosting it in their backyard. There's like 15 of us. I feel like it's such a big group, so like not everyone shows up, so it like still stays consistently a good number. Yeah, so we read The Housemaid, so we're going to discuss it, but it's also Cinco de Mayo today, so I'm reading Chips and Guac. My friend's bringing Pinko de Gallo. They're talking about margaritas. Yeah, we're just gonna have a good book club, lots of discussions, see where the night takes us. So it will be fun. So I'm gonna go and make guacamole right now, and hopefully this video is up ASAP. And I will be making a TikTok about book club because I meant to last time and then I was running behind, and so yeah, I didn't get to it. But I also want to show off, I wore my sweater in my last video, but it's like 24. Like the weather here is finally getting nice. It is way too hot to wear a sweatshirt. But my new sticker, at least one of my new stickers from Books with Jess, Little Miss spends all day reading. My students love my sticker. So anyways, I hope you guys get through all your reading slumps. I hope you read lots of good books and have a great reading month in May. Bye guys.